Polyrhythms and polymeter are two incredible rhythmic ideas that you can use to write your own songs, create interesting polyrhythm guitar licks, and compose unique guitar solos that sound really cool. Now, polyrhythm and polymeter are technically sophisticated and sound advanced, but the good news is there are some easy tricks to making these sort of rhythms easy to play. Hi, I'm Tom Hess. When I first heard polyrhythm in a song, I was mesmerized. The feeling it creates is unlike anything I'd ever heard before. I just loved it, and I wanted to learn how to create my own guitar licks, solos, and songs using polyrhythms and polymeters. However, I quickly became frustrated because the rhythms seemed complex, and I couldn't figure out what was actually happening in the music, nor could I really play them in time. But once someone taught me some simple tricks to understand polyrhythms and then gave me easy ways to play them, I was super excited again and began using them all the time. I've taught polymeter and polyrhythms to thousands of students through the years, and today I want to help you get started. So grab your guitar and let's get going. Let's start out by quickly defining some terms. Polyrhythm is the simultaneous combination of two contrasting rhythms in music. Polymeter is two or more different meters played simultaneously. So polymeter is a subset of polyrhythm. So let's start out by taking a look at a simple, common 4/4 measure where we have 8 eighth notes, in other words, 8 notes per measure, and we would basically count it like 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, or you can count it 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And for the purpose of learning and understanding how to play different polyrhythms, I'm going to recommend counting it 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, even though the more common way to count eighth notes would be 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. You'll see in just a moment why I'm going to recommend to count it 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now what you see on the screen is a new set of notes added on the bottom. And there are still 8 eighth notes per measure, but now they are regrouped, and they're in groupings of 3. So the top line is groupings of 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. And the bottom line are groupings of 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Now, it's important to understand these are not triplets. This isn't 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet. That's not what this is. These are just straight eighth notes, but we're grouping them, we're counting them as 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, etc. Now notice on the screen these red circles around some of the number ones. You'll notice that these appear showing you when the top line, the groupings of 4, and the bottom line, the groupings of 3, when the ones line up. Okay, so whenever you're playing the bottom line or the top line, you will be able to feel, you'll hear it and you'll feel it when you're playing where those ones line up. It feels very different than all of the other places where the ones do not line up. If this doesn't make sense yet, it will when you start playing in just a few moments. So now in this example, you're going to hear a 3 against 4 polyrhythm. Okay? So what's happening, if you listen to the hi-hat, is playing in eighth notes, and we are going to play in eighth notes also, but our eighth notes are going to be grouped in 3. So we're going to play these 3 notes here in that pattern. So we're playing 3 against 4. If you have your guitar, play along. Well, I'm going to stop playing, but I want you to keep going. Ready? Here's you. Keep playing. And I'm going to to come back in. Here we go. Play along if you're not already. Okay, cool. So it's obviously very simple what we're doing, right? There's nothing hard about playing these three notes, but it might, if this is new to you, it's going to feel strange because you're going to want to do something like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, or some other group of 2 or 4, because that's what you're hearing in the backing track. You're hearing 4 essentially. So to play 3 against the 4, again, not triplets, but just straight eighth notes, it's going to throw you off a little bit at first, and it's going to feel a little bit weird, but once you get the hang of it, it sounds and it feels really, really cool. Before we get into the other exercises, which are a little bit faster, make sure that your hands are fully warmed up. And I've got a video here on YouTube called Guitar Warm-Up Exercises Step-by-Step Tutorial. You might want to check that out before you go further. All right, in this next example, we're going to take the same 3 notes we worked with in the last example, and we're just going to play them faster. We're going to play them as 16th notes. Now, in addition to the fact that this is going to be faster, it's also going to feel a little bit different than the previous example. All right, rhythmically, it's going to feel different. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to play my guitar. You're welcome to join me, and then I'll stop, and you keep going on your own and see if you can get this in time. Okay, ready? Here we go. Play along if you like. You keep going. All right, now let's do it together. Ready? Here we go, right on this downbeat. All right, so it's a really cool effect. It's a cool sound. There's nothing difficult about what we're physically doing. It just feels a little different. If this is new to you, it's going to feel different. It feels actually really cool. You have this kind of a swirling kind of feel to it when you're playing, and you'll experience that much more when you're playing than you will when you're just listening to it. So it's a really cool effect. All right, in this next example, we're going to stick with 3 against 4 polyrhythm here. And we're going to play basically just a simple B minor arpeggio, those 3 notes. We're going to play it as eighth notes, so we're playing right along with the hi-hat. We'll wait for the 1 chord to start. And if you want to play along with me, go right ahead. Here we go. Keep going. All right, cool. Okay, so now we're going to do the same thing again, but we're going to play it as 16th notes. It will be a little bit more interesting, but the feel will be different. So same little B minor arpeggio, but this time, as I said, 16th notes, still group of 3. So I'm waiting here for the next 1 chord to appear. And once it does, we'll start playing. Feel free to play along. Here we go, 16th notes. Keep going. This is you. Keep going. All right, very cool. So how did that go for you? Were you able to keep up? Did you kind of get lost in the rhythm? It's not that difficult of a thing to play technically, but you can sometimes get a little off track if you lose focus. So you have to concentrate, of course, and it takes time. If this example was a little challenging, go back to the previous one where we did this as eighth notes, and you should be fine. In this next example, we're going to be playing groups of 6 against 4. So we've got a repeating pattern of 6 notes, and they're all 16th notes. Okay, this is not 16-note triplets that will give you 6. Straight 16th notes, but with groups of 6. And this has a really cool feel to it also. 6 against 4, here we go. Play along if you like. Very cool. Try it on your own. All right, very good. Let's move on to the next example. But before we do, I want to bring one other thing to your attention. You may have noticed I was not using alternate picking. In fact, I never use alternate picking. I use what's called directional picking. And if you want to learn about that technique, I've got another video on YouTube called Guitar Techniques, Economy Picking versus Directional Picking. And you might want to check that out if you're interested in picking in a more efficient way than alternate picking will provide. In this next example, we have again a 6 against 4 polyrhythm here. Now we're going to be using the Hirajashi mode, a fragment of it, to play this lick. It's a really cool sound. It sounds good when you play it as 8th notes. It also sounds good as 16th notes, and that's what we're going to do here. So grab your guitar. We got 6 against 4. Here we go. Going on your own. All right, very good. If you liked that sound and you want to learn more about Hirajashi scales and modes and licks, I've got a video here on YouTube that you can check out that has a bunch of licks using those scales, and it sounds really cool. In this next example, we're going to play 6 against 4 rhythm again. We're going to use the Hirajashi mode again, but this time we're going to sequence our pattern across all of the strings in groups of 6 notes. So we still have the polyrhythm thing, we're just extending the lick and making it bigger. So grab your guitar, here we go. Start right in this downbeat right here. Let's do it again on this next chord, here we go. One more time. Ready? Here we go. All right, so it's a very cool sound. There are other things we could do with this to make it even cooler, but the basis here is just getting the 6 against 4 using the Hirajoshi scale sequence across all 6 strings. This next example is a little longer. We're going to now play a group of 10 notes, 10 eighth notes. So this gives us a relationship of 10 to 8. We're playing 10 against 8. You could think of this as 5 against 4 if you prefer, but it's really 10, not 5, because the pattern is 10 notes long, not 5 notes long. Okay, so here it is, slow, 8 notes. Start it over there. I'm going to start over. Try this on your own. All right, very good. All right, and this next example, we're going to simply take the previous example and play it faster. So we're going to play it as 16th notes instead of 8th notes. It's still 10 against 8, or if you prefer to think of it as 5 against 4, you can. It's really not that, but you can. Okay, so here we go. Once the one chord returns in our backing track, we'll get started. It's going to happen right here. Try it on your own. Okay, very cool. All right, now let's talk about how to practice this stuff, okay? I've got 3 pieces of advice here for you. The first is how you count. So when I first learned this stuff, the guitar teacher at the time who I had wanted me to count in the way that you would normally count for 4 measures. So if we had eighth notes, he said just count it as 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and etc. And then I was supposed to just feel, or just feel where the notes are going to be syncopated, where the pattern starts over. If it's on the and of 2 or the and of 4 or whatever, he wanted me to just feel that there and maintain the normal counting. Now that advice is fine. There's nothing wrong with that advice, and that ultimately is the point where you want to get to eventually. But I think for the purpose of learning it for the first time, if this is new to you, I'm going to recommend not to do it that way for now, and instead count the pattern as it exists. So if you have 3 against 4 and you're playing 3 notes, just count it 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Just make sure you're playing 8th notes or 16ths or whatever it is, not triplets. Okay? Otherwise you're doing something completely different and you don't have a polymeter. The second piece of advice here I have for you is you want to get to the point where you're feeling this and not counting it. So in the beginning you may have to count. Nothing wrong with that. but you want to be able to just feel this and not have to count in order to get it right or to play it or to stay in time. Now, how do you get from counting to feeling? Well, that now brings us to our third piece here, third piece of advice, which is get a running start just for practice. So if you're playing along to a backing track, if let's say you're doing eighth notes, okay, and you're going to do this one. Notice that in the picking hand, it's just alternate picking since it's all in the same string, right? Down, up, down, up. Okay, so take the left hand out of it, take the notes out of it, and just get your pick going in time so it's playing eighth notes or sixteenths or whatever it is that it is supposed to be playing once you add the left hand just in it just a little bit. So don't count anything. Don't think about what the pattern is yet. Just play along straight eighth notes or straight sixteenths or whatever it is. Okay, so you get your right hand going in time, in sync with the music first. Okay, so because you want this guy to run on autopilot. So it just does its thing regardless of what this hand's going to do. Once you have this locked in with the track and you really feel it's locked in, then you can add the fretting hand. It's much easier when you're first learning this to do that than to go from a dead stop and just start doing this from the beginning, if this is new to you. So those are the three pieces of advice I recommend to help this become easier when you're learning it. So today we've been talking about polyrhythm and polymeter and getting things in sync. But if you want to build more guitar speed with your fretting hand, you'll love my new free e-guide called Mastering Fretting Hand Finger Independence for Guitar Players. It's totally free, no strings attached, and I think you're going to love this stuff. So click on the link below to download your copy.